Good morning. Javier Becerra, Chairman of the Democratic Caucus, joined by our Vice Chairman, Joe Crowley. We had, I'd say, more than a good meeting today in caucus. We had a passionate meeting in caucus because we dealt with the issue of taking care of our veterans, doing right by our veterans, the people who have done everything to protect our freedom, to preserve our Constitution. And so we had a a profound conversation with the Secretary of the Veterans Administration, Secretary McDonald, who essentially came to the caucus and said, the bill that you're going to face on the floor of the House of Representatives to fund the Veterans Administration and those countless veterans who've served our country is a bad bill. It's a bad bill because it would cause us to fail to serve healthcare wise, services wise, some 70,000 American veterans because it would cut close to $700 million from the VA's budget that the president has requested and needs for the growing population of veterans that are using VA services. He mentioned that this bill that we have on the floor would eliminate the funding for the construction of indispensable projects throughout the country that would help service veterans so they don't have to wait months to get the services that they've earned. And it eliminates funding for something as simple but as important as the expansion of some of our cemeteries for our veterans. It's hard to believe, but some Americans will be told if this funding bill becomes law that no, their loved one who served their country will not have space to be buried in a cemetery reserved for our veterans, people who served. And so the secretary came and sent a very strong message, something we rarely hear. Please don't let this funding bill become law. If you care about our veterans, we must do better for them. And so I'm hoping that working with Secretary McDonald, President Obama, and those members who want to walk the walk when it comes to our veterans, that we will do better for our veterans. We don't have to do this. We can do much better. And we should not use the excuse, anyone in Congress, that sequester made you do this. The sequester law, which everyone agrees, makes no sense when you put a blindfold over your eyes as you're writing your budget, and then you just slice across the board, good and bad alike, suffers the consequences of a sequester cut because you don't take into account whether this is a valuable program serving people who have earned the services or not. You just cut across the board blindly. That sequester cut is the excuse that's being used by some in Congress as to why we would deny veterans the services that they earned. And we hope that that will not be the case. We had conversations about some other matters as well, but that was the principal matter that we discussed. I do want to mention on my own that for me, watching nearby in Baltimore, the unrest, the expressions of disassociation that we've seen should once again be a call for us that it's time to build trust among Americans and for our institutions of government, especially our law enforcement agencies around the country, to build trust so that really people will have the sense that we're working together and that we're serving each other. And I hope soon that the mayor and the governor in the state of Maryland, the mayor of Baltimore, are able to work with the community to build that trust, to get that great city of Baltimore back going the way it should. And I wanted to mention that simply because it seems like not much time goes by between one incident to the next, which impacts the lives of real families. And I think if I were living right now in Baltimore, or if I came from Missouri or from New York and had been part of witnessing activities relating to some of these incidents involving our police officers, I'd be very troubled. I'd be very troubled because these are families who have lost loved ones. And I'm troubled because I believe so much in the men and women who put on a uniform, who every day risk their lives for us. and we need to build that trust. And so I just wanted to mention that. I also wanted to send a quick congratulations once again publicly to Loretta Lynch, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, because she has finally been placed in the position that she has richly earned and so much deserves. With that, let me yield now to the Vice Chairman, Joe Crowley.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to be here today to stand with my colleague, Javier Becerra. What we learned this morning was quite remarkable. That if it weren't for the VA system, a lot of the advancement in medical science would never have taken place. The call to privatize the VA system is a farce. When privatization takes place, a lot of the things that the VA is involved in prosthetics, the advancement of, I found out this morning the first liver transplant took place in a VA facility. Just to name two, the secretary read off a litany of things that the VA is responsible for. So we need to be proud of what the VA has stood for and what it does for our American vets. The promise that has been made to the American veteran needs to be fulfilled. And this budget, this Republican budget, these Republican appropriation bills do not meet that standard, do not meet that promise, will not fulfill that promise. As the chairman said, 70,000 veterans would lose service as a result if this budget and these appropriation bills were to become law. So I think it was an important caucus meeting today, and it was visible that many members were very concerned to hear from Secretary McDonald as well as Secretary Donovan. And so I stand with our Democratic caucus in saying we will not support that budget. That is not reflective of the values of the American people. I won't support it, and I don't believe our caucus will support that either. Just really quickly on two other points. One that the chairman mentioned. I think I, like many Americans, was watching my television last night at the standoff in Baltimore and was relieved to see that we did not have a repeat of the night before. I want to applaud all those who were involved, but in particular I want to applaud Elijah Cummings, our colleague and our friend, who was very visible and I think helped to make sure the cooler heads prevailed last night. But to the citizens of Baltimore, what a strong message it sent last night, that they want to rebuild. But I think it's also reflective of the need to invest in the most important resource in America. That's the American people. What really harkens out to me, if you make the cuts that they're proposing in the VA, you're going to have more unrest. If we don't do a jobs bill in this country, we're going to have more unrest. What these people are looking for is an opportunity to make it in America. They can't make it in Baltimore, and they can't make it in America if they don't have opportunity. That's what we should be focusing on as a Congress, providing opportunities for jobs and to give people a standard of living that they expect as Americans, that they're not reaching today, for a myriad of reasons that need to be addressed. And just lastly, I represent one of the largest populations of Nepalese in the United States, and my heart goes out to all the people within the region, not only in Nepal, but Bangladesh and China, India, where we know there has been the loss of life due to this massive earthquake. I'm once again proud of the resolve that the United States and through our State Department has demonstrated in the initial response by USAID. I know much more will need to be done, and I know the American people will join in whatever that response will be. We're also looking to help those from Nepal who are here in the United States, who are here on visitors visas or work visas, to maybe give them temporary residence here in the United States until the emergency subsides. We know that disease and unrest may follow in the country. We hope not, but it would be, I think, stabilizing for those individuals who have the opportunity to stay here until the situation improves in Nepal and within the region. So thank you for this morning.
Thanks, Mr. Vice Chair. We'll take a question or two. We're going to have to run pretty quickly. Emma?
You know, certainly, I think virtually no Democrats are expected to vote for the Republican budget conference report. Are Democrats prepared to vote against the no-con VA appropriations bill based on this conversation with the Secretary this morning and other conversations about what leverage Democrats can have to get a higher level of spending?
I think the Secretary McDonald, was very clear today that this is not a bill that is good for veterans. And he mixed no words about that. And as the vice chair said, he went through and explained what sometimes people forget, the number of things that the Veterans Administration does for veterans that go beyond just helping them directly personally. It's the new medical discoveries, the fact that they help graduate more doctors into America than any other system in our country. And so what he was trying to say is, think of this as an investment for tomorrow's veteran, not just today's veteran, because while we're trying to ramp up to serve our veterans today, we're going to be facing this again tomorrow. And if we divest in the Veterans Administration for something as incoherent as a bad law, which bipartisanly people agree is a bad law, this sequester, then we're doing injustice and disservice to our veterans. So I think you're going to find a lot of Democrats are going to try to push our Republican colleagues to do the right thing by veterans and provide the resources that the VA needs to get the work done. I also believe that you're going to see that be the case on some of these other appropriations bills, where once again Republicans are hiding behind the excuse of sequestration to make some devastating cuts to services and investments that we all agree we must do, whether it's for our kids or for our veterans. So I think this is not the first and last bill that we will see on appropriations that will have to change in order to do the right thing by the American public. Recognizing as well that we've already reduced the size of our investments at throughout the country at the domestic level, education, health care, veterans, than we've ever seen before in our lifetimes. And what we haven't done is we haven't seen one single cut in tax breaks for the very wealthy. We haven't seen one single cut in the loopholes that some companies use to outsource jobs outside of America. But we do see that these budgets that Republicans are proposing would cut veterans, would cut 50,000 young Americans, children from Head Start, and that's where we think that it's wrong-headed to do so.
I just had one point, and the Secretary said that virtually, if not every veteran service organization opposes not only this budget, but these cuts in the appropriations bill.
Any final question? Thank you. Mike?
On trade, President Obama has come out and made some pretty sharp criticisms of critics like you, whether he's the EPA last week. He says that his bill will protect the middle class, all the protections are in there. A lot of liberal concerns that that's not the case. How has that divide become so large? And do you see any progress? Are they taking any steps to address certain?
As Leader Pelosi has always said, a lot of us would like to get to yes. A lot of us have also experienced a number of these trade deals. I have voted for some trade deals. I have voted against some trade deals. Many of us have learned what makes a good trade deal. The thing that makes a good trade deal is if American jobs and American businesses grow. If we can tell Americans that they're going to see better paying jobs in the U.S. as a result of that trade deal, I think most Americans would be right behind us saying, let's do it. But most Americans feel this angst every time they hear about a trade deal. It's because they, too, have experienced the loss of job opportunity, the loss of a business as a result of some trade deals. So it's a mixed signal that you get out of trade deals. And what we're saying is it shouldn't be a mixed signal. It should be very clear that our priority when we do any kind of trade deal with any country that wants access to our market is we're going to create jobs because we're going to send some things, some products to your markets. What we have found too often is that we end up opening up our markets to competitors, and the competitors end up cheating and not opening up their markets as they're supposed to in the trade deals to our producers. And so what we're just saying is, many of us are just saying is, let's make this into a deal where we know we're helping Americans find better paying jobs, more jobs, and where American businesses have a way to compete to sell their products abroad and won't find that their competitors in some foreign land are cheating and not following the letter of the deal the way our American businesses are. Mr. Vice Chairman, I don't know if you want to comment. Okay, thanks very much.